Okay.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee meeting for May 16th. I'll note that we have a full complement of Bedminster Township Committee in attendance tonight in person. It's Committeeman Stevenson, Committeeman Hickey, Committeewoman Moreski, Committeewoman Fernandez. And I'm in COVID protocol, so I am locked away from the rest of the Township Committee, attending remote. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Sure. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News Somerville, Burnetsville News Whippany, and to all subscribers and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 6, 2022.
Great, thank you. And please join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, which stands one nation
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty, justice for all.
Getting around.
Okay, that dog barking is not coming from conference room A. So that's not it's not my background. So as we've been doing through the COVID pandemic, John, you don't have to.
Might have to mute you on there, Robin.
So as of today, Bedminster has a total of 1,165 total lab confirmed cases. We remain at 7 fatalities. So at our prior meeting on May 2nd, 2 weeks ago, we were at 1,109. So that's an uptick of 56 over the last 2 weeks. And once again, those numbers are laboratory confirmed cases. So for example, I tested with Rapid. I went to a Minute clinic, tested positive again. So my case doesn't necessarily show up in those numbers. So I think what we said from the beginning is that these numbers are artificially low since they're only reporting PCR laboratory confirmed cases. Certainly from the state data and from what we've been hearing anecdotally, certainly I've been hearing this anecdotally, is this latest variant it is transmitting. My symptoms were not particularly severe, but it's out there. So we do ask all our residents to, be aware, take the precautions that they need to, and follow the CDC guidance if you do test positive or you are exposed. One other comment that I want to raise before we get to the meeting is I want to give a special thank you to Congressman Tom Malinowski. As many of the Township Committee members know, we've been exploring ways of replacing the pump station here at Miller Lane. And we've applied to the county as part of the ARP recovery funds for upgrades to the pump station. We also asked Congressman Malinowski to look at it. We applied for some grants through the Congressman's office. And I received a phone call yesterday from Congressman Malinowski and was on the phone with him just a few minutes ago before this meeting. And the Congressman said he has put into the, the appropriations bill, $1.17 million. Rodney, if you, Robin, correct me on those numbers, it's just about 1.2 million for the upgrade to the Miller Lane pump station. And Congressman Malinowski has put that into the appropriations package. Now, so I got into a little conversation with Congressman Malinowski about this, because originally when he announced this and left a message with me, I thought this was coming through the infrastructure funds. But actually, Congressman Malinowski put this in to what we used to call an earmark, and Congressman Malinowski was fine with calling it an earmark again. So this is actually put directly into the appropriations bill that will then fund the the government for 2022. So certainly the expectation is that the appropriations bill will go through the House of Representatives smoothly and then on through the Senate for full vote and approval. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the political process doesn't derail it. But a special thank you to Congressman Malinowski and his commitment to supporting infrastructure and supporting the needs of Bedminster and our surrounding communities who share in the operation of the pump station, which is Far Hills and PPAC Gladstone. So Rodney, did I get it right that our ask was about 1.2 million?
It sounds about right, and I think Robin has the exact number, so
Okay.
that's pretty close.
Okay, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. And once again, thank you to Congressman Malinowski. And I will be following up with the Congressman's office as the appropriations bill makes its way through Congress. With that, let's go to public comments. I'm not there in person, so Doug, if you don't mind handling the public comment section.
Sure. Any member of the public have any comments they wish to make to the committee? Now's your opportunity. Just run up to the podium, give us your name and address, and please feel free to run. Larry, no one's taking me up on my offer.
I don't, but it sounded extremely sincere from my end, so well done.
Anybody on
With that,
the phone?
No.
Nobody's remote either.
no one's on Zoom.
Nope, I think we can move forward.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of May 2nd, 2022 minutes. Any comments to Ms. Raid regarding the meeting minutes?
Have to recuse on this one.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And abstention.
Yes, I have that recorded. Thank you.
Okay, we have 9 permits and raffles to run through. So one little sip of whatever I'm drinking before we go through this. First one, social fair permit to benefit Raritan Headwaters on June 5 of 2022 at Fairview Farms, 2121 Larger Cross Road. Second, social fair permit to benefit Burnt Mills Cider from May 28, 2022, December 10 through December 10, 2022 at River Road Park. That's the seasonal permit for the farmers market. Third is the social fair permit to benefit Lamington Presbyterian Church on June 5, 2022 at Lamington Presbyterian Church, 355 Lamington Road. Fourth, social fair permit to benefit Flounder Brewing from May 28, 2022, through December 10, 2022. Once again, that's a seasonal permit for the farmers market. Fifth, a social fair permit to benefit Donlon Brew Works, also known as Sunken Silo, from May 28, 2022 through December 10, 2022 at River Road Park. Once again, a seasonal permit for the farmers market. Sixth, the social fair permit to benefit American Cancer Society on October 10, 2022 at Hamilton Farm Golf Club, 1040 Pottersville Road, Bedminster. Next is a on-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit Shepherds of Youth Charitable Trust on October 10, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Trump National Country Club, 900 Lamington Road. And then an on-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit the Center for Contemporary Art on September 16, 2022, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Center for Contemporary Art, 2020 Burnt Mills Road. There is one more. Let's take that separately. So any comments or questions regarding those first that we just ran through?
No.
All right, may we have a motion to approve A through H?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then the next is a golf equestrian event permit for LIV Golf Inc. And excuse me, I'm not sure if this is LIV or Live Golf Inc. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But so LIV Golf Inc. Professional Golf Tournament, July 29 through July 31st, 2022 at Trump National Golf Club, 900 Lamington Road, Bedminster. Once again, this is a golf equestrian event. And Ms. Ray, do we have anyone from the event who's going to give us a presentation?
We do, Mayor. We have John Dolan, who's here to give us an overview of the application. The application still does need to be reviewed by all the various departments. They're providing an overview of the event today. I had planned to share their Zoom presentation via Zoom, but I'm experiencing some technical difficulties here. But the Township Committee all has copies in their binders of the presentation. I do have a couple extra I can share if I need to copy. You want to just pop on up?
Sure.
That speaker should be on for you.
Test.
Yes, you're good.
Great.
And if it comes up, I will share it momentarily.
Great.
But meantime, do you need a copy?
If that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Hey, Mr. Dolan, are you ready to give a presentation?
Yes, sir.
1 second, we're just getting the
Yeah, we're having
presentation
just
set
a
up.
problem. Just give me
Okay.
one. Mayor, it's, I'm having some technical difficulties with my computer. Here's your copy. Okay, give me a second. If you can just get started, and if it works, it works. My, can do a whole reboot here.
Yeah, well, good evening, and thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is John Dolan, and it's a pleasure to once again stand in front of this room and address you all. In 2017, I stood as championship director for the USGA's US Women's Open hosted at Trump National Bedminster. Worked hand in hand, not only with the folks here in Bedminster, but throughout the county, the region, the state, as well as the country with officials to make sure that we hosted a not only safe, but enjoyable experience in 2017. I think those who were able to be there in person or word around the street would agree that it was held with resounding success. And that was due large in part to the partnership with the town, with Somerset County, as well as with the state of New Jersey, and all the officials that worked so diligently hard to make sure we were not only safe and protected, but also following the rules and regulations that are governing these types of experiences. So I come back tonight as event director for the LIV, L-I-V is LIV, but easily confusable. And we are operating an event here the 29th through 31st at Trump National Golf Club. We're very excited to be returning to the town. And we've got a few things we want to run through tonight to talk about the experience, introduce it to you all. Obviously, we'll be going through the proper channels with the individual departments that we need to make sure we're following, like I said, every rules and regulations about the event itself. But needless to say, we're very excited to do so again. I was very much a part of working hand in hand with those different departments. So like I said, the 29th through 31st, hosted at Trump National Golf Club. It'll be a 48-player field. Players from all over the world will be coming here to compete. And once again, putting Bedminster on the stage nationally and globally as well. It'll be a shotgun style format. So compared to our Women's Open experience, it'll be a more condensed time frame. So we're working closely with the changes that affects, not only from the public safety perspective, but also from how it affects the town itself, the infrastructure in and around the golf club. The gates will open on site from 10 a.m. and we'll close at 8 p.m. each day. And a couple of areas I wanted to address tonight, just about the infrastructure in and around the club, some requests that we found best practices that really achieved all of our goals for 2017 that we want to repeat again for 2022. The event would once again request the closure of Cowperthwaite Road, and that would be from July the 5th through August the 5th for a couple of different reasons. Number one is public safety. We worked closely to make sure that as we're building out our infrastructure throughout the property, we want to ensure that Cowperthwaite Road is available for our construction use, as well as security. We want to make sure that the property is secure leading up to a championship of this caliber, and that we're able to close that down the road at certain points throughout the weeks leading up to the championship itself. We'll certainly communicate with our neighbors via certified mail like last time. We'll work closely with emergency services as well as the USPS, Bedminster Township School District to accommodate necessary access that they need for that road. So we'll keep parts of it open throughout the week, We know that time frame, there aren't be a lot of buses that'll be going through like they usually are this time of year in July, but we'll certainly work with the township and notify those governing bodies that need to use that road in certain circumstances. So we once again request that. A little more overview of the event itself. We're partnering with Red Tail Farm for our general parking. That was again another success story from 2017. We're translating into 2022. Our general public will park there and then walk across the course to enter the old course and enjoy the championship itself. We have a really in-depth public safety plan for our guests while not only on site, but also getting to and accessing that. Trump National has security 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on property. We will, of course, be adding to that as we get closer and closer to the championship itself. The event's working closely with federal, state, local, and county law enforcement. Chief Rock and I have a great relationship for the past 7 years, as well as with our lead prosecutor office at Somerset County, who will be the lead agency like they were in 2017 and do a fantastic job. We'll be working with a private security group named Andy Frayne. They'll be our really frontline folks like they were before, a lot of on the ticketing side, as well as access throughout the property. We'll have a joint security location on property located near the 18th pole. We'll once again work with the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office to develop a joint operations command center that'll operate not only throughout the championship, but leading up to make sure we're safely secured throughout the championship week itself. And we'll have a necessary medical services provided on site to ensure that our guests are safe and our players and our participants are safe and well taken care of. And we'll partner with a few local medical services and also partner with groups like Morristown Medical, as well as a couple other leading hospitals in the area to make sure that we are well covered in that category. Let's see, she's got me flipped over here. So on course, we're going to handle, have a few opportunities for entertainment. Concession areas will include public restrooms as well throughout the area. We'll be able to entertain on site safely and responsibly. We will have opportunities through that we will require sound system needs on property. That will include our media center that will be constructed in the parking lot at Trump National Golf Club with a few speakers to make sure that we are announcing those media interviews appropriately. On site on the 31st, we will have outdoor sound systems to help conclude the event and closing ceremonies on the 18th hole. And so we'll be requesting and working with the proper authorities here on property to make sure that we're following all the rules and regulations. And last for me would be our signage plan. We're going to work again with the town zoning commission and the folks here from Bedminster to properly notify, whether it be road closures, whether it be entrances, exits, that we're going to utilize, let's say for Red Tail Farm or for other properties, we're going to use for our parking and just for notification. So variable message boards will be in use. We'll also work with the town for public signage to make sure we're notifying people well ahead of time about any possible road closures or speed restrictions or security measures that will take place throughout the championship week itself. You know, for me, that's about it. I think I would just kind of recap and saying how excited we are to be here, especially for myself, once again, to work with this township and repeat our success in previous years and really looking forward to another healthy partnership to once again put Bedminster, the county of Somerset and New Jersey on the map, once again, hosting major championships and the host to something really great. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dolan. So a quick question is, the request to close Copperthwaite from July 5th all the way to August 5th. Any reason why it has to start that early on July 5?
Yep. So for a couple of different reasons. One, sensitivity to security reasons and making sure that we can properly secure the property. We did this in 2017. We actually did it for a longer period of time. We did it for almost 60 days from the end of May through July. We feel that this 4-week period not only provides a secure property to ensure that trespassers are dissuaded from entering the golf club, but also for public safety. We'll be utilizing Copperthwaite Road and crossing through there several times throughout the property to build out our structures. That'll take place several weeks leading into the championship. So with all the busyness that goes on that road, with us building out, and it's not highly trafficked to begin with from the public standpoint. We asked for it to be secure just from the club borders. So not all the way down by the property line, by Lamington Road or by Elizabeth Lane, but really by the top of the hill there at Trump National Golf Club, as well as the opposite side, closer towards Lamington Road, but above where the other private properties are located. So really in the club border itself, which we would secure. We'd also work with, whatever agencies need to access that, whether it be USPS, whether it be the township's school bus system, or obviously law enforcement that need access to that property. We'll do so accordingly, like we did last time. We just feel that from a public safety perspective, as well as securing the property itself, leading up to such a major championship as this, we want to take all measures to do so.
But the ability to use the street and gain access to their homes, right?
Yes, they will.
It's just
So yeah,
public- it's
so
just
from
public
Lamington Road, coming off Lamington up towards on Copperthwaite, all those residents there up until the property line at the club is what we're asking for to be open. And then once you get to the club property itself, right past the red tail entrance there on Copperthwaite is where we want to secure and place a gate there.
So remind me, if to get from Red Tail to the course, do the public spectators, whoever's using Red Tail Park, do they have to go out onto the roads or can they get to the course without having to go back onto the road?
Yeah, so they wouldn't have to go. There's a loop. They'd come off of Rattlesnake Bridge Road, entering the property there, then exiting through Copperthwaite when we're on the championship days. So
Perfect.
which is great. So it worked really well last time. So we have that kind of learned experience from 2017 to see what worked, what didn't work. We're taking all these different aspects into play, how things have changed since then, but a lot of the bedrock pillars of our success were ideas just like that.
Mr. Dolan, what's the, what was the attendance at, in 2017?
Yep. So our attendance for 2017 was just under 20,000 people throughout the week. Again, that was Monday through Sunday. We're much more of a compact schedule now for this experience. So we're estimating about 8,000 people per day. So the total will be about the same number, just more compact over those 3 days compared to those 7 days.
Okay. So about 8,000 a day. And how about the types of structures? I do remember fencing going up, significant fencing, as well as the viewing stands. And I just, Robin, at some point, there's a much bigger lead up to handle some of the construction permitting and other permitting associated with those structures. So do we essentially have enough time to get all those structures reviewed and approved through our construction office?
Yeah, I stood this, ironically enough, I look back at my notes from 2017. I stood on this floor almost 5 years ago to this week. So from our end, we're partnering with one of the largest tent vendors in the world that complete tents throughout all corners of the event business. So they're the leading authority. So from a proficiency and a professional standpoint, they'd be my first choice every time. So we've got a great vendor partner there in play who's going to work well with us to make sure from a rules and regulation standpoint, we're meeting all those codes that need to be met for temporary structures. We're also working, and we've worked with the town before from the construction permitting side, as well as safety when it comes to fire or things of that nature, really closely in the past. So I think we're right on time, and this is the same time frame last time. So I feel that we're in a good space. A lot of the people here remain the same from previous experiences. So I think from a timing perspective, we feel very confident that we're right where we want to be.
And Mr. Dolan, so is this the first event for Live Golf?
It is not. Actually, the first event will be in London in just a few weeks. They'll then travel to Portland, Oregon. After Portland, they'll come here to Jersey. And the schedule continues not only domestically, but internationally as well, following up in Miami in October.
And do you expect those events to give you perhaps more details on expectations for attendance?
Yeah, we're going to see trends from ticketing. Ticketing is now available online, so we've seen ticket purchasing start. And as those trends, continue, I can relay that with whether it be first responders, whether it be from the building perspective, about where we stand and what we expect to be leading into the championship. So those are really telling for us. It's real-time information. We're updated on a daily basis with that regard. So for us, that really helps us prepare accordingly and react accordingly, whether it comes to parking, whether it comes to infrastructure that we're building, whether it comes to security or EMS, things of that nature. We're able to do so in real time and provide, the necessary steps to make sure we're well prepared.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know who's playing?
Not yet. I wish I did, but no, not yet. Not yet. We will very soon.
Hey, Chief, any concerns, comments, questions from your end?
I don't, I mean, working with John and doing the Women's US Open, it seamless, and I expect this to go the same way. I think the advantage this time is that the course is closed the whole week, and we're only gonna see 3 days of spectators. And John said, though, it's gonna be probably a bigger group during those 3 days. But I think, the security plan for having a 7-day build and spectators in 7 days, I think that was a lot. So I think the 3 days is gonna be a little bit easier.
Great.
Thank you.
Did we have any issues with sound? Any of the neighbors complaining about that kind of thing? I mean, I know that's a big piece of property, but.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, our sound is, it's golf, so it's pretty quiet, there's some
Well,
boards in the
yes.
gallery. But yes, and when it comes to like areas I just mentioned from our media center and for our closing receptions, they're very much, interview type style formats. It's going to be, an tented facility. For the closing ceremonies, they're brief, 15, 20 minutes long. So we don't expect a huge noise footprint in that regard, but certainly, and I've asked for feedback from some of the neighbors that I know personally, and they've had a pleasant experience. So really no complaints that I've heard of.
Fireworks?
Not at this point. No, I know the club's doing something in July for themselves, but for us, hopefully the fireworks are going to take place on the golf course. And
Yeah.
so
You need volunteers?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, no, the town's been great. We had great support in 2017, not only from the commissions here that we worked with and partnered with, but also just seeing a lot of town people come out and support, whether it's through volunteerism or just buying a ticket, come through the gate, or just being happy in town to know that we're here and the economic impact that we bring to the town is significant, and we really appreciate how the club and the area and the town itself has wrapped their arms around championships like this in the past. So we're very proud to be here.
Well, let us know what you need.
Thank you.
So Robin, earlier, when you introduced Mr. Dolan and the presentation, you had mentioned that the application was still going through review through police and other services as well.
That's correct, Mayor. There's construction permits that still need to be submitted. Board of Health for temporary food licenses still need to be submitted. So all the different departments need to have their individual permit processes they need to go through. This is just an overall event, a special event golf permit.
Right. So, but I guess my question is, those permits that they're going through are separate and apart from the social event golf equestrian permit that we're considering tonight. So we are ready to take a vote on this?
That's correct.
Okay. So unless there's any further questions or comments to Mr. Dolan or to Robin or to Chief Rock, let's get them out now. If not, may we have a motion to approve the golf equestrian event permit for Live Golf Inc. Professional Golf Tournament, July 29 through July 31st at Trump National Golf Club, 900 Mylington Road.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dolan. Good luck with the tournament.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Good luck.
We'll see you.
Sorry about that. At least we got it done at the end.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You will.
Okay, while we're on permits and raffles, I do want to, there's a note that Robin left for me. It's regarding the Celebrate Pingree event that was held last Thursday. And despite, I guess, best efforts, at least we presume there were best efforts by Pingree. There was apparently a resident who claims that she was never notified of the event, nor were her neighbors. And Robin, I'm not sure if you spoke with her.
I did. I spoke with her twice, actually.
So was her complaint about the fireworks, or was it about the general traffic?
Her complaint was about the fireworks. She said she was never notified.
Okay. Now, we had advanced meetings with Pingree, and we advised them, notified not just 200-foot or 1,000-foot owners, but go out. I know that list was provided to them. I mean, it may have gone out by mail, maybe they didn't receive it. And certainly also when we had the Pingree rep here on May 2nd, we again reiterated how important it was since the community is very small. And my recollection is that there was an indication that they had done what they thought was going beyond the list requirements and trying to get addresses for all properties within the Pottersville area. So once again, I don't know if the issue lies with the communication or the forms of communication, or where there's just something that was missed. But it tells you how important it is to get those notices out there so folks are aware. Pottersville is a very quiet neighborhood. Probably once again, the Celebrate Pingree was probably the biggest event to ever happen in Pottersville. So, once again, lessons learned, and we do hope that if Pingree does something similar, or anyone that does any other events like that down there, that really take heed of notifying the residents. With that, let's move on to monthly report discussion by subcommittee chair. We'll start with Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. We've got historic preservation coming up later this month, but right now we don't have any applications, so we'll see if that goes off. DPW continues to do the fields, the roads, so all seems to be status quo on that front. Just want to also take a moment to let you know that last week, Renee, myself, Robin attended the Somerset County Open Space Advisory Commission meeting to put a presentation on for our community gardens application. I want to give special credit to Robin. I was planning on leading that presentation, and then I got whisked off to URI to grab my son, and then I was planning on making the presentation from the car, and that didn't turn out because of we had stuff all over the top of the car and you couldn't hear anything. So Robin put together a PowerPoint presentation the day before, ran with it, and just knocked the ball out of the park. Did a great job, Robin. Great presentation. I think that the county was impressed with the level of detail that we had, and then the consideration that we had, and the going out and, putting out the survey to the residents. They were impressed with that as well. So it looks like I think it was a very positive presentation for sure. We don't have any results yet, but I'm optimistic about our ability to get that grant. So I just wanted to let everybody know that Robin really crushed it. So thank you for that, Robin. And I'll get you more back on Historic Pres next week if we go off.
Great, thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Couple of quick items. Board of Health, this month's meeting has been canceled because there are no new applications. Board of Ed, we have a meeting on Thursday, which I'll be in attendance. Community Block Development Grant Committee, the committee recently approved about $152,000 in grants for public services throughout the county. The money to support these grants is allocated annually through HUD. I'll tell you, when you hear some of the stories and interact with some of the folks who rely on these services, your heart truly goes out to them. This is always time and money well spent, and I want to thank the county for their efforts in coordinating what's a very important program. And Mayor, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
A couple not so quick notes, but just to remind everybody, some of the things that are going around from our side. Talking about the Environmental Commission, a reminder about the June 18th well water testing that's being held at the fairgrounds in Far Hills. You can pick up the kits from 9 to 12 on June 18th, and you return them to the fairgrounds on June 20th between the 9 and 12. 2 ways to pay is by credit card in advance at www.raritanheadwaters.org/event/Somerset Hills. Otherwise, it's by check at the door. The basic kit costs $60. That test includes the test for coliform bacteria, E. coli, and nitrates, but there are additional tests such as for lead and radon that can be added for extra costs. If you have any questions, please reach out to Raritan Headwaters Well Testing Office. They're 908-234-1852, extension 401. And I want to echo Doug's words. A big thank you goes out from the EC to Robin and Doug for their support of the community garden grant submission to Somerset County. Doug presented a great in-depth introduction, and Robin presented, in my words, an exploration of how we determined that a community garden would be a great program to have, a natural outgrowth of Bedminster's views of a healthy environment and happy residents. Between them, they provided the county with the enthusiasm and evidence that Bedminster deserves to win the grant. Let's see, Jacobus Vanderveer House. So for years, the Vanderveer House Board of Trustees has been planning to create a model of the Pluckerman Cantonment, and which, as you guys know, is the military training center that was built here in Bedminster under the direction of General Henry Knox, 1778 to 79, while staying here at the JVH. At the end of 2020, JVH received a private grant to build this model. The model has interactive features and an informative video. It is being unveiled this Thursday, May 19th. We're so excited at the JVH reveal party from 6 to 9. It'll feature samplings of colonial beverages, beer, wine, appetizers, and the opportunity to be one of the first people to see this. Stephen Schwab, who's the designer, will be available to answer any questions you might have about the model. Tickets are $75 per person. You can get them on the website. But just in case you can't see the reveal, the model remains on permanent display at JVH, so you can see it the next time you're at the house. And then last, the Field of Honor is this Saturday, May 21st from 11 to 3. The outdoor admission is free to the community and features a live performance by the White House Wind Symphony, which I know several people have heard. They've done some really good programs here and everybody loves them. And we also have some historic demonstrations going on. Not sure exactly which ones they landed on, but I think some knitting and some corn dog toy things. Let's see, house tours are available for $10 per person. Children are free. So you can see the cantonment model at that point. We still have flags that you can purchase or adopt. Each flag has a personalized dedication to be included with the Field of Honor celebration that day. Families of active duty military personnel can dedicate a flag at no charge. Flags are $60 to purchase and $40 to adopt. And that's all I have today.
All right. Sounds great. Looks like Field of Honor is already being set up. I just saw that this morning, so that's great.
It's there, and I believe they're working on the new paint on the house because I saw windows taped up and the shutters down. So that's exciting that is starting.
They're scraping the house down.
I saw some strange patches. I was hoping that's what that was. So it's looking good.
It's not going to be that colonial neon yellow that we see elsewhere in town?
Not this year.
The
Maybe next time.
other owner bought that all out.
All right. Thank you, Renee. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Renee. That was great. I love the Field of Honor. I just can't believe that this weekend is already May 21st.
It's here already.
It's flying by. Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just have an update. Rec has a meeting tomorrow night, so I'll have an update in the future for that. And then I wanted to update you on the Somerset County Stigma-Free Initiative here in Bedminster. So we're moving, I met with the Board of Health. We discussed different ways to implement the Stigma-Free Initiative here in Bedminster, and we are moving forward. We are creating currently a list of resources that we will be putting a tab on the website, the Bedminster website, for our residents. We're developing and proposing new and innovative ways to meet the mental health needs of our residents and informing the public of the nature and extent of the problems and the availability of services to meet those needs and end the stigma here in Bedminster of mental health. So we are moving forward with that. Currently, we have Robin and has reached out to the Somerset County Youth Services Commission as well regarding some funding that might be available for how we implement this to meet the needs of the youth in our community. So that's my update for that. And I have a PSE&G update, but I'll wait until we get to old business for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So there was a land use board meeting. Both Committeeman Hickey and I were ineligible for that. Colin, do you actually know what was, if there was a decision made at that meeting?
I did not get an update, Mayor, unfortunately.
Yeah, so yeah, neither did I. And moving right along to farmer's market. So Robin, can you actually pull up the either the farmer's market?
I have it on my screen. I'm just trying to, I'm working on,
Actually, what I see on my screen right now is still the PowerPoint for the Live Golf.
trying to disable the controls without losing the meeting, so. I'll get it up there. Just give me a moment.
Okay. So what I do want to talk about, I think we mentioned this at the last meeting, was this is the largest assemblage of vendors we've had for the farmers market, and kudos to the farmers market committee for staying true to the mission, right? And the mission remains supporting local agriculture, exposing Bedminster residents and residents from our surrounding communities to these local small businesses and who are critical to keeping our agricultural property in agricultural use. So it's great to see that expansion, and I can continue stalling for as long as it takes to get that presentation up there.
Robin is,
I'm close.
she's clicking
I
furiously.
have like 3 computers here today. It's crazy. So sorry. I see it on my screen, but I just can't seem to share it, but I'll get there.
Okay, I'm sure you will. So one of the things that is going to be new for the farmers market this year, and thank you to Rodney McCatherine from DPW, as well as Kevin Murray, also from DPW. During our meetings for the farmers market committee, we've always looked at the parking and the traffic pattern and the pedestrian patterns from the parking areas down the River Road to get to the market. And for any of those of us who have assisted in the parking and directing the traffic, I mentioned earlier with regard to Pingree, the best laid plans sometimes don't always work. And as Colin can attest, we've seen cars driving out through the in and driving in through the out. And we've seen cars using a sidewalk as an exit. And you would think that would never happen. And you would certainly think that would only happen once during the entire season. But it happens multiple times. One of the things that we look at from a safety perspective is getting the folks from their cars into the market at the same time that cars are coming down the driveway for River Road. We can sit there with our flags and ask them to go slow. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And one of the things that we had tasked the Farmers Market Committee and to work with DPW is to figure out a way to get a dedicated pedestrian access from the parking areas to the market. And so I know that Rodney and Colin and I had looked at different alternatives, and the alternative that was selected was to do a stone dust path immediately adjacent to the wooden post fence that runs along the field of River Road, and to have that as a dedicated way to get folks that they can walk. It'll be a stable platform, and don't have to worry about divots in the grass or getting their shoes wet from the dew on the grass, which has been an objection from people in the past. And that'll be new for this year. So once again, we're not resting on laurels that there hasn't been, fortunately, any incidents with pedestrians and cars, but we want to be ahead of it and make sure that if there are things that we can do to improve safety, that we do it. So Robin, if we can run quickly, just want to announce who's going to be at the farmers market this year from vendors. There's a mission statement.
Our organizers, the committee.
Organizers. Okay, so for our weekly farmers vendors, and we'll go in alphabetical, Allstate Farms, Chester, Aqua Sprout Farms at Branchburg, Chumami Chili Oil, new vendor coming to us from Orange, Dogwood Farms, right next door in Liberty Corner, Flipside Farm right here in Bedminster, Garden Goat Soap from Pittstown, Gourmet Nuts and Dried Fruit from East Hanover, Hoboken Farms, Lucid Coffee right down the street in Somerville, Morsels Bakery right down the street in Mendham, Neshannock Station Apiaries. While their address is Flemington, we know that their hives are situated in Bedminster and elsewhere in close proximity to our towns. That's about as local honey as you can get. Noble Mushrooms, Hillsborough, but they've also grown some of their domesticated mushrooms in Bedminster. Oldwick Soup, now located in Morristown, but formerly from Tewksbury, Picklelicious. Riverbed Farm, right next door in Far Hills, actually in that PPAC border right there. Riverly House down in Branchburg, Sarrowland Spirits, identified as Branchburg, but I actually believe they are down in Hopewell. Sumac Catering, which is new, so that's going to be doing prepared foods at the market, which we really have not had a whole lot of. So we welcome Sumac Catering. Two Barn Farm right down the road in 78 in Pittstown. And this year, this is a vendor I've been trying to secure to the market for years, and I'm very glad that they're participating. Valley Shepherd Creamery from Long Valley. We are lucky to have Valley Shepherd, which is a nationally and perhaps internationally recognized award-winning cheese right here at our market. So that's great news. So these are bi-weekly. These are vendors that will be appearing every other week. Barber's Kitchen from Teaneck. So that's great. And Bobolink Dairy. The other Jersey award-winning cheesemaker out of Milford. Burnt Mill Cider from Bedminster. That's about as local as we can get. Florida Sucre, French pastries from Bethlehem. Flounder Brewing, not brewering. That's different. Flounder Brewing comes to us this year. Once again, local, right down the road in Hillsborough. Hoppy Valley Farm, local, Califon. Italia Specialties from Tewksbury. Old Mill Pond from Washington, New Jersey, Oil and Flame Candles, Cedar Knolls, but I think we know them mainly from their participation up in Chester. Old Village Farm from Milford, River Valley Community Grains, Long Valley, Sky Acres. That's pretty close. That's right here in Bedminster. So welcome to the Sings. Glad to have their participation at the market this year. The other brewery, which will actually be switching off every week with Flounder, is Sunken Silo Brew Works in Lebanon, also 10-15 minutes away from Bedminster. So we'll have two different breweries, a winery, cider, and hard spirits from Sarrowland. So no loss of adult spirits and adult drinks over at the farmers market this year. So we've got some pop-ups, and I'm sure we'll get some additional pop-ups as we go throughout the rest of the year. And once again, just want to thank everyone from the Farmers Market Committee, especially Neil, who's serving as our Farmers Market Manager and our Rec Director, for doing a terrific job. And just ask that folks who are interested follow the Farmers Market on Instagram and on Facebook. And Robin, have we set up the alert so that folks who want to follow the Farmers Market through the Township program can do so?
Not yet, but we will.
Okay, great. All right, and that's what I have for my subcommittee comments. And so let's move on to Ms. Ray and the administrator's report.
Okay, sure. Can't do two things once here. Real quickly, we had the presentation with the DOT on the 202 bridge project that's going to start in 2024. We had about 13 residents attend last Tuesday night. And I think there was about 20 DOT representatives. But it was good to see that we had some people here. Doug and Renee also mentioned that we attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting for the county and presented on the community garden. And then I should also let everybody know that Fall Fest invitations to all of our local businesses and community groups were sent out last Friday, May 13th. So we have 2 different registration deadlines for sponsors and also for participants. So that's coming down the pipe next big event. That's it. That concludes my report.
Oh, great. Okay, we're moving right along. Ordinances, we have none for discussion, we have none for introduction, and we have no public hearing of ordinances for tonight. Consent agenda, we have nothing on the consent agenda. We do have 4 resolutions to consider tonight. The first is authorizing the award of a contract to Fire and Safety Services for the purchase of a Pierce Enforcer pumper truck for the Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department. Ms. Ray, do we still have Chief Grundyke with us?
We do, Mayor. I'm trying to get out of this image. I'm afraid that excuse me just one second, if I disconnect here, I'm going to disconnect my computer from the share altogether.
Okay, so let's give you some time. Let's bring Chief up to the microphone. And Chief, we're going to need you to stall for some time as Robin works through the Zoom attachment.
So Mayor, what would you,
What color is the truck gonna be?
so we are staying with the slime line, not going to orange or pink or
I like
And-
slime.
anything of that nature. So even when we had the rental, that was red, but threw a little loop in there, but no. So it's still slime lime. New engine would be replacing over 30-year-old engine that we have. So yeah, it's right. Doesn't have every bell and whistle, but it's the necessity items to perform our job. One, to keep our members safe, but then also that we have the equipment to then keep the pedestrians and businesses and everything that are coming in and out, either townspeople, not townspeople, safe in the capacity. The new engine,
I'm sorry.
Yep.
just- Have you guys thought about what you're doing with the existing engine once the new one comes in?
so the engine that would be replaced,
Chief, he's angling for a ride.
is that what he's angling?
You know, I did get a ride from Pottersville, I will say.
So when the new apparatus does come in, again, like we did with our yearly qualifications, and then going over the packs, I think it's pertinent to have you guys come and have, everybody that has helped get us to this point, to come down and see what we all have.
You know, I'm being tongue in cheek. I just wanted about, that, but I'm saying the existing engine, right? Are we gonna look to auction it off? Are we looking to sell it? Are we just scrapping it? Like, what do we have we thought about that or?
So some of that has come up, and that's, where the committee is getting over the hurdle of what we're doing tonight in the last, I'll say specs of, that this bolt is here and that shelf is there type of thing. And then that's the second portion of that committee. So then that's decided of, age and.
Let's go through it. It's shot already.
Yep.
We're getting rid of it.
Yep.
It's not running right
Right. Are we gonna get anything for it? I guess is my question.
now. We'll see what scrap we get for it. We don't know. And again, it won't be, if we sign this contract and we go forward, it's 2 years
Understood.
before we get there.
Totally get it.
So what we're gonna figure out is what the best value is for that. And we're looking for a temporary replacement vehicle for that right now,
For the 2-year period.
for the 2-year
Yes.
period.
Okay.
We're out in the marketplace looking for something that we would purchase for a short term to keep that as our second engine. Because the current one now, we're unwilling to put more money into the maintenance.
Okay.
We can't guarantee, even if we put another $30,000, that'll pass the required tests.
Yeah,
If
there
that's
is,
the case, we're putting bad money,
right,
good money.
in the
after
bed. That's it.
We're gonna
Correct.
hold putting money on that that thing could have some salvage value as some scrap, not a
Yeah.
lot.
In the past, we had sold internationally, right? And I just don't know
Yeah,
whether
so
this
it's
is beyond that,
not
beyond.
that way, but the market keeps changing.
Yeah,
Right
okay.
now, scrap's up.
Yep,
So
yep.
maybe worth more.
Sure.
Fuel's more expensive, so it's harder to get fuel, harder to get here down to Central or South America.
Totally understand.
Right, so not saying we're cutting out any avenue, but right, we're gonna look at what's
Yeah,
the best
just-
scenario for us that we're gonna get right, it's not gonna be a
Okay.
headache of a situation, but it's bang for the buck.
You could see in the next number of weeks that we may be getting a new temporary vehicle to replace that one while that sits on the sidelines until we settle that out. But the
Okay.
most important thing long-term for us is obviously get the purchase.
Right.
of The new vehicle going, and then we'll deal with our temporary situation and see how we deal with that.
Now, we had asked this before, and I believe the answer was that the price has been locked in. When we started this process, inflation was picking up, obviously. But with the current rate of inflation, are we still secure in the contract price for the equipment?
I can say your masterful administrator has done a very good job in making sure of keeping everyone on point to that. It really worked out well. I think Robin, Sarah, and Debbie have really done a great job for the fire department and the township. And making sure all that worked out correct. There's a lot of action that you all had to do within the last 60 days on anticipation notes, with contracts, with all the different elements, coordinating with Far Hills. And it appears we're at the finish line now. It took a lot of effort, not on our part, but on your staff's part. We think they did a great job in getting it to the point it's at right now. And I'll let Robin speak on the last discussions, but I think we're in decent shape right now. Our exchange is that.
We are in the last phase here. You all have in your packets the bond information letter from Debbie. So that process has now been completed and the wire transfer has been, the money has been wired to our bank account. So we're ready to award the contract and do the purchase order tomorrow morning. So.
Perfect.
And that meets the commitment that Robin negotiated with Fire and Safety and actually with Pierce Manufacturing.
Correct.
Because they said by April 15th, if we didn't do
Sorry, it
that,
was the
$82,000 premium. And we avoided that $82,000 premium by your staff negotiating with them, giving a commitment that you would make a certain deadline. And I believe by doing this action tonight, we'll meet that deadline, and we don't have to worry about that increase or going back to negotiate something.
That's great. Well done.
Yeah, so I just echo that thought. I know that there was a series of conversations and more than just conversations with the chief and President Kennedy, Robin and Deb Stern. And look, we got this, we pulled it off in time. So kudos to everyone who was involved in getting this. But there is one last step we need to do, which is to pass this resolution. So unless there's any further questions or comments for the chief or President Kennedy, may we have a motion to approve resolution number 2022-050.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.
So, and Mayor, can we do one other cheap plug for all these different events? We do have Memorial Day Parade that the fire department's been doing for probably 80 to 100 years. And it will be on Memorial Day Monday at 10 o'clock, starting with the 8th grade band. We'll be parading down from Bedminster to Far Hills. So we look forward to the committee participating in that and the rest of the community supporting.
Would not miss it at all. Love the event. Is there going to be hot dogs this year?
Not bringing back hot dogs, so that
All
will be there. So,
Yay.
Pickles.
thank you, everybody. I know it was a lot of work, but from the fire company, we do appreciate the effort and the support.
And we
give.
appreciate
We
you
appreciate
guys.
it. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, moving along to resolution number 2022-051. This resolution authorizes the hiring of a new police officer by the Bedminster Township Police Department. Chief Rock.
Hello, all. Thank you
Why
for.
don't you fill us in?
So, as we all are aware, that Officer Jaron Mann resigned from the Bedminster Township Police Department effective March 1st of 2022. After that, the Township Committee allowed us to post seeking new police officers. And here in Bedminster, as we all know, we're looking for people that are already PTC certified or somebody already in the process of going through the police academy. So moving pretty quick, we stood up our oral board on April 9th, and that consisted of 4 of the sergeants and myself. We ran through 15 interviews. And at the end of it, we don't discuss in between the interviews, and we rate the candidates that came before us. And the new officer, Michael Pena, he came out number 1 on everybody's list. So he comes to us with 5 years' experience from the North Police Department. He attended the Seagirt Municipal Police Academy prior to, going into the North Police Department. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from John Jay College. And, I'm looking forward to it. And he's also bilingual. So we'll have a Spanish speaking and writing officer within the police department. So I think that's a big acquisition for us. So excited. If the resolution shall pass, I hope. But May 23rd, next Monday, will be his original start date.
That's great. I'll say I've had conversations with the chief throughout this process, and I think one of the things that the chief mentioned tonight was as they went through the interview process, everyone involved in the interview board, everyone on that panel rated this officer as their top pick, and I think that speaks well. And it's also, I think it's noteworthy is that Officer Pena, as a 5-year officer in Newark, is actually taking a bit of a pay cut to come here. And I think what's interesting is that while it's a pay cut at this level, the upside in scale increases dramatically through the Bedminster program. So within a few years, he'll be well ahead of where what his pay schedule would be in Newark. And he is a Newark resident, is that correct?
That is correct.
So he's going to be driving from Newark to Bedminster. The policing is obviously a little bit different, but this is not the first time that we've had an officer come to us from a more urban environment. And I'll leave that to the chief, but it seems to have worked out well. And I support the chief and his interview board in their process. So questions, comments for the chief?
Hope you won't get bored.
Never.
I think it's excelente that he's bilingual with our changing population here in Bedminster. So
No other comments or questions for the chief? May we have a motion to approve resolution number 2022-051?
move.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank
Well
you.
done, chief.
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 Okay, the next resolution is something that I actually had asked Attorney Bellardo to prepare. And we've long had a policy, perhaps it was unwritten, that the flag poles at Town Hall and the other township properties are for the flags of the United States. It's something that Mayor Parker and I have discussed at length over several years. And there was a newspaper article I saw a couple weeks ago about a Supreme Court decision. It's called Shirtleff versus the city of Boston. And the city of Boston routinely allowed third parties to come on and they would request the opportunity to do flag raising. And they raised every flag that was subject to that request process. And that continued for a couple of years. And then a couple of years ago, an organization that ran a camp requested to do a flag raising. And this camp was affiliated with the Christian church, and their flag had Christian symbols on the flag. And the group within the city administration denied it. Said, you know, it's just too close. We don't want to be perceived as taking position on religion. So it's interesting. They took what they viewed as a constitutional amendment as an establishment of religion position to deny the application. The applicant challenged and went through the federal court system and eventually at the Supreme Court. And while it was a unanimous decision overturning Boston's denial for the flag raising, there were about 3 or 4 different opinions from the Supreme Court. So that while they were all unanimous in their overturning the denial by the city, they were not necessarily unanimous in how they viewed it. The plurality decision by the court emphasized that this was not an establishment of religion case, but actually was a freedom of speech. And the little nuance, and John Bellardo, please correct me if I go astray here. The nuance is because the city of Boston allowed all comers and no one was rejected until this one application, that essentially it was allowing people to come in and do the flag raising. And among the previous approvals were a bank and some other institutions. And the court said, look, you don't have a written policy. You've allowed everyone else. So this is not necessarily a freedom of religion or establishment provision. This is a freedom of speech issue. And because you didn't have these policies and you just allowed everyone to come in, by picking and choosing which speech you allow on public property, your action is now suspect under the Constitution. And the court said, nope, Boston, if you're going to allow everyone to raise a flag, you're going to allow everyone to raise a flag, and you're not going to pick and choose. So I discussed with John, and my thought was, look, it's about time that looking at the decision, and it was mentioned, I believe, in at least 3 of the opinions from the Supreme Court, that they referenced that there was no written policy from the city of Boston, that it's probably about time that we do adopt a policy here in Bedminster. And so resolution number 2022-052, this resolution is being adopted in light of the United States Supreme Court recent decision, Shurtleff versus City of Boston, and set forth a policy for flags permitted to be flown at the Bedminster Township Municipal Building and other township properties, and essentially says that the flags that will be flown at the municipal property and other township properties are the flags of the United States, flags of the state of New Jersey, and flags of Bedminster Township. This is a resolution. So if 3 months from now, if this resolution is passed and someone wants to change it, you can always change a resolution. 3-4 years down the road, someone wants to raise something else in the township committee, or whoever is involved in that time wants to do so, they can, flout the resolution or adopt a new one, changing it. But I just think that given that recent Supreme Court decision it's better to have a policy and put it in writing than not. John, did I get the Supreme Court decision correctly?
Mayor, I think you explained it perfectly. Essentially, what the Supreme Court said was that because the city of Boston basically let all comers fly flags without examining the underlying purposes of the organizations, that was not what's known as government speech on Boston's part. So as a result of that, they said you could not discriminate against a Christian group that wished to raise a flag. And they pointed out in the opinion that there were many organizations that were allowed to raise a flag that in fact had diversely opposite viewpoints. But nonetheless, they were allowed to come in, fill out an application. It was pretty much rubber stamped, and people were allowed to raise the flag, one of 3 flagpoles at Boston City Hall for a limited period of time. So I know Bedminster has always, for the most part that I can recall, limited itself to the flags of the United States of America, the state of New Jersey, and the Township of Bedminster. So essentially, this resolution will provide definitive guidance on the flag policy of the township, and the Township Committee will not be put in the unfortunate position of having to pick so-called winners and losers by telling some organizations yes and telling other organizations no, which will most likely lead to lawsuits by those told no.
Okay, so questions or comments regarding this resolution?
I just have a comment regarding this resolution, in regards to ribbons that are sometimes requested that we hand out, such as breast cancer awareness or whatever the awareness is, right? And they ask that town hall hands out the ribbons. Does this, kind of fall in line with that? Should we be thinking of a resolution to also avoid any issues with that?
So great question. And I think the phrase that John mentioned and that I forgot to mention during the description of the case is government speech. So one of the Supreme Court decisions, once again, I believe it was the plurality or the majority decision, said in the Boston decision, hey, Boston, if you wanted to raise a flag honoring the Red Sox for winning the pennant, would you also do the same if the Yankees win the pennant? Right? So if you're in Boston, there's no way that would ever happen, right? So that's an example of government speech. And that is separate and apart from the issue that's presented in this resolution. So this resolution is very narrowly crafted. So it's only involving the flying of flags at the polls, at the flagpoles. So for example, we've made a decision as a township committee to support the stigma-free initiative.
Right.
That does it, so we could hand out materials for that because that's Bedminster Township endorsed speech. That's government speech. We've asserted and taken a position on that issue. We could do the same with breast awareness. We could take any other issue that we want to promote or that we feel that as a township committee we endorse, and we can do so. So we have not touched upon that issue. So if, for example, something that I know a lot of us are familiar with, supporting the Girl Scouts or doing a clothing drive at Town Hall, that would be acceptable government speech and not subject of picking and choosing, because we're not picking and choosing. That's our speech that we are promoting.
Okay.
But very good question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
My only comment, Mayor, is I think you got good foresight to think of this issue. It's not like we've got any like, thing we're trying to do here. We're not trying to cut anybody off. We have no agenda. It's just that if someone were to just be forward thinking and come down one day and say, hey, I'd like to fly a flag for this purpose. And we don't think about it. We say, okay, sure, no problem. We may be opening up the door that we don't even know that we're opening up.
Exactly.
The idea here, just make it neutral, keep it state, town, United States, and just leave it at that. And, if somebody else wants to do something in town, they can apply for a permit and, have at it, but there's no reason why we should be getting involved. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, I'll take a motion to approve resolution number 2022-052.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. Okay, the last one is the adoption of the 2022 municipal budget. This is resolution number 2022-053. So, Robin, do I have to read through this again, or did we already read it once before?
You can just read it by title, it's fine.
Okay, good. So, we still have Bud, and I think we've got Andrew. So since they've stayed with us this entire time, Bud, can you run through the entire budget?
I'd be happy to. That's right.
Nice. Well played.
Challenge accepted.
So Robin, do you want to let's walk through the numbers, and then if there's questions for Bud or Andrew, we can certainly address those.
Okay, sure. Just give me a minute. I'm going to try to share my screen here again.
Which one?
Which screen? Yeah, I know. I have like 3 screens up. It's ridiculous.
Black computer, screen 8.
Okay, here we go. So I'm working remotely through my desktop, and for some reason, I'm not always seeing things the same way. It's almost backwards, if you will. So I apologize for the way this looks. It is what it is. Okay, so municipal budget, just a quick overview of just some of the items that we were faced with this year. Biggest increase that we saw was just that our diesel fuel was up 50%, as well as our vehicle maintenance costs were up 30%. So those were 2 of the large contributing factors to any increases that we experienced this year. Also, our police and fire retirement system and our deferred comp retirement plan donations were up 11% this year, as well as liability insurance premiums just went up 4% across the board with the JIF, and our group insurance as well is up 3%. So those are just some of the notables that we have. But overall, everything else remained relatively flat for us, which is amazing given the fact that we are experiencing 8.3% CPI at this particular point. So I think everybody did a phenomenal job trying to really take a long, hard look at the individual expenses. Just real quick, just to show you a comparison from our 2021 municipal budget versus our 2022. Some of the funding sources, our fund balance is a little bit lower this year. Everything pretty much stayed the same. The most notable perhaps was our grants. So grants is over here. It's 1% in 2021. And then in 2022, it makes up 24% of our funding sources. And that's actually due to the American Rescue Plan grant that we took in this year, which the township is going to be utilizing in a number of ways. First and foremost is to improve upon our roadways. Second is to also protect us cybersecurity wise, as well as make us a more viable community resource by installing a generator here at Bedminster Town Hall and Public Works, so we can keep everybody, the lights on and everything going. Are there any questions on this budget funding source? Okay.
Sometimes I speak too fast. Overall, just to let everyone know where your tax dollars are going to. 52% goes to the school tax. The library is, we're told every year what that percentage is, and that's 2%, makes up 2% of our tax levy. The county tax, which is a combination of county tax and county open space tax, makes up 25% of our contribution, of our tax levy. And the local tax rate, sorry, open space tax is 1%, and our local taxes make up 20% of our overall tax levy for residents. Next, this is probably one of the most important slides since it's really impacted our budget this year, kept us at our tax rate actually kind of low. Our property assessments, this is information from our tax assessor. Our residential went up slightly this year by 3.23%, as did our farms. Commercial and our one utility here in town actually went down, so went down slightly. Next, this is just a little bit more detail just to show you the last 5 years and where we are today. It's the actual impact on the taxpayer, but I should note that it's based on estimated tax rates, as the county hasn't, these are all, we're just basing this on assumption of what we anticipate their tax rate to be. So right now, the amount to be raised by taxes is the current year over the prior year. Taxes are going up 0.87%, which is under a 1% increase for this year, which is amazing given the fact that inflation is just so incredibly high. So the average, this is just an average assessed value of a home here in Bedminster. This is how it all kind of correlates. An average assessed home is $475,753. And that means that there's a change in the assessed value by over last year by 14,000. The municipal tax rate is 0.271, which is down slightly from last year, which was 0.274. Our open space tax remains flat at 0.015%, and the library remains relatively flat for the last 3 years at 0.033, for a total municipal tax rate of 0.319. And if you take a look, do all your calculations, the average tax bill ends up being $1,517.65. And the amount of change over last year's taxes is a $33.69 increase for the average taxpayer. Any questions? Okay,
Well done.
moving
Yeah.
on.
I really
I
like all
think
those
that's the end of my slideshow. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to entertain questions, but Andrew, I know you're here and you've got a lot of good information.
So I've got a couple things for all of you this evening. Number one, I just want to make you aware that prior to tonight's meeting, where we're going to hopefully adopt the budget, we've already passed the cap banking and COLA ordinance. Prior to this, also, we're in compliance with both the appropriation cap and the tax levy cap. Also, the state has finished their review of the 2022 budget. They did come back with some comments, nothing major. Debbie and Robin were able to address everything that they came back with, and they sent us notification that we're good to adopt this evening. So just going back to what Robin said, altogether a very responsible, very thought out budget. Once again, it doesn't surprise me. I know the time and effort that goes into this with all of your department heads. They really do a great job. Debbie, Robin, of course, and the entire township committee. We're continuing to aggressively pay down our debt, which is great, but we're also able to put more money away this year. We're putting $434,000 into our capital improvement fund, which is great because that allows us to maintain the infrastructure and the services that the taxpayers have become used to in Bedminster. And again, I just want to thank everyone for everything. And if anyone has any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
So Andrew, the comments that came in from the state had no impact at all on the budgeting process itself?
No, not in the end. We were able to get everything addressed and respond to them. Actually, Debbie had a phone call with Cheryl on believe it was Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And from the state, actually was able to respond to that. And then a little while after that, we received notification that we were cleared to adopt.
Now, Andrew, so one of the things that Robin had talked about, I know we certainly during our budget meetings, we've considered this as well, is the the grant impact on this year's budget and making sure that if the grant eligibility may not be the same for 2023, and that we're not going to put ourselves in a bad position by relying on the grants in 2022, which could actually do a disservice to Bedminster and our residents for ensuing years. So I just want to make sure that you're still comfortable with that statement, that the use of the grants that were made available to us through the federal and sometimes through the state government, but all really originating with the feds, that does not compromise us as we move forward to 2023 and 2024.
We're completely correct in that. What the township committee decided to do was to use funds for one-time expenses, which is what we recommend. You don't want to use them for anything that's recurring, and the township did steer away from that. So we're using it for one-time expenses that won't recur in the following year, so we're not going to be dependent upon that revenue.
Great. Okay, we've got the experts. We've got Bud and Andrew and Robin. So if there's any more questions from the TC.
When do we start this process? End of January?
It's a process.
All good.
All good.
Okay, seeing none, may we have a motion to approve resolution 2022, the adoption of the 2022 Bedminster Township municipal budget.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. And before we move on, I just want to say thank you to Bud and Andrew for their guidance and for dealing with a lot of questions from us regarding the application of the federal grants and what we could do it, what we could use it for, what we should use it for, what we shouldn't use it for, and for your patience in those questions. Also to the Township Committee members for, we went through 6 budget meetings, all with catered and through the fire and police and first aid and all the interviews that we went through and all the questions that the Township Committee asked, looking at each element, looking at the impact, not just in 2022, but in the years to come. So thank you for your participation and for those great questions. In the end, it led to a much better budget process than we've had before. And thank you to our Township Administrator, Robin Ray. This was Robin's first year handling the budget, right? So in prior years, Judy was working with us, and Robin was solo, maybe a phone call or two to Judy, but really this was all Robin. And she changed not only the presentation to the Township Committee during the budget sessions, but actually some of the spreadsheets, how we had viewed them in the past, and sort of brought them up to speed using, frankly, more current and more useful versions of spreadsheets. And Robin, I think you did a fantastic job. We all know how hard you worked, being in here on Saturdays and Sundays, and me stopping by to sign documents at night and you still being here. I mean, just the amount of time you put into this, and I know because you wanted to get this right. You were not going to treat this as your first solo shot in dealing with the budget. You wanted to treat this as if you knew the process and were accustomed to running it. And I think from all of us, you came through shining on this process. So thank you, Robin, for all your hard work.
Appreciate that.
That's it.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you, Robin.
Bill list.
Mayor?
We have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Mayor, excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but did we have a separate public hearing on the 2022 municipal budget?
Okay, whatever we said about Robin, we're taking back. Robin, was the public hearing, was this public hearing?
This was it, yes. This was it. We had it all noticed in the newspaper. This was it.
So, Bud, do we have to open the public hearing for comment?
Yes, just on the budget itself.
Okay, so let's go back to the budget. We've
Motion.
motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does any member of the public have any comments regarding the 2022 municipal budget?
I'm not seeing any, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing none, may we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bud, do you want us to readopt the resolution since the budget is approved via a resolution? We've already, do we have an ordinance?
No, there's no ordinance. It's
There's
just
no
a
ordinance.
resolution, and it probably makes sense to re-adopt the resolution after the public hearing. Sorry to be a stickler.
No.
That's all good.
That's what you're here for.
Never forget this one.
Okay.
So, motion.
Maybe a motion to approve resolution number 2022-053, the adoption of the Bedminster Township 2022 municipal budget.
So moved.
Second.
Please, Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bud. All right, we've already approved the bill list. Any items for new business? Okay, let's move on to old business. We've already covered COVID-19. Chief, anything further with DOT on the road improvements for finishing up River Road and eventually starting Hills Drive?
I have heard nothing from the state DOT, Mayor.
Okay. Utilities, Colin, you want to start with JCP&L and Altice?
Sure thing, Mayor. Thank you. On Altice, the one-on-one meetings with each of the Bedminster homeowner associations are currently being scheduled and conducted with Altice. As we've mentioned before, these are in connection with the fiber to the home project. The boards that have already participated have been very receptive, but obviously it's up to them to ultimately decide as to whether or not to pursue the project. One of the commitments that Altice has made is that the road cuts are only to be pursued as a last resort. They believe most of the work can be done using directional boring, much to the relief of the associations. They have also represented that most of the work in each neighborhood can be completed within a matter of a few weeks. And then just an anecdotal story. On Saturday night, about 8 o'clock, my phone started to buzz, and it was from a prospective resident. Calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm looking at a place at Wood Duck Pond. I understand there have been some network issues over there." I guess she was smart, doing her due diligence, looking on Bedminster Buddies or somewhere else, and good for them. She said, "I have a son who's a gamer. Not sure I want to move forward on this purchase." So like, wow. So, I spent some time explaining to her what has already been done. For example, the node splits of the legacy network, as well as obviously what was being discussed right now. The conversation highlighted what we have talked about up here repeatedly and emphasized. When it comes to home buying, access to high-speed fiber is now part of the customer purchasing decision, just like good schools and safe neighborhoods. It's a reality now. So look, I think we're going to have more and more of those types of calls. And obviously that's why we're pursuing this as hard as we are with Altice. So more to follow on that one.
Great, thank you.
JCP&L, just a quick item. We received a complaint from the Village Green neighborhood regarding an electrical transformer near Mountain Court, which appears to be in deteriorating condition. Just as we did over in Wood Duck Pond a few years ago, we asked JCP&L to do an on-site inspection of that unit and others in the neighborhood and determine whether or not repair or replacement is necessary. So I will follow up with our JCP&L rep on that within the next week or so. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Do we have any update on how the survey for those properties in Western Bedminster and Pottersville, including Tewksbury, are going?
No, Mayor, I'll follow with Planet Network and hopefully we'll have an update on that for our next committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Gina, you want to talk about utilities?
Yes, Mayor. I heard back from Tanya Banks at PSE&G regarding gas main extension. And their engineer has been out and has done the calculations for two. They have separated the job into 4 different jobs. So depending on like where you live, I guess, and the proximity to the gas main. 2 of the estimates have been determined. The cost for the main only for Old Stonehouse Drive. Although I thought it was Old Stonehouse Road, but she put drive in here. And the main only for that road is $79,647.36. And that would be divided up per resident based on their gas usage and their BTUs. And then those individual residents should be receiving or should have received individual letters. And the gas main only price for Old Dutch Place and Old Dutch Road East is $26,384.96, which is substantially less than Old Stonehouse Road. And again, those residents have received the email and also have received individual letters. I've heard nothing yet about Deer Haven Road. So that one we're still waiting to hear on. And I don't know, have you heard about?
I got the update from Tanya Banks on Ski Hill. The price for that was over $86,000.
So that's even more, the most expensive so far.
Yeah, by far. And, you know, Mayor, one of the things I think we need to talk about maybe offline is just, you know, the idea. I mean, the residents that are doing this that met with Gina and myself and wanted to put in the request for, you know, to test the waters here. The idea was, hey, this might be able to be done at gratis if we have enough folks to get involved in the project. And the sentiment that I've heard back from folks in Ski Hill, and that I think we're going to hear back from the folks that are participating, at least seeing what the numbers look like, is that the concept that the utility company would put the cost to run a main in on the residents and then basically get for them lifetime customers and an annuity in eternity, in perpetuity. Rhetorically, why are we shouldering the costs for that main? I think we need to go back to PSE&G and just say, listen, if you're really serious about expanding your gas service line here, you build the gas main, we tap in and we pay you utility fees for the rest of eternity. And it's not like no one's ever going to leave gas and go to oil. I mean, I just don't see that happening. So the numbers that they're putting out here are just cost prohibitive. I mean, no one's going to put $80,000 into a project to bring a gas line in. And that's just to bring the main in. You got to factor another 15 to 20,000 per household to hook up your utilities, to convert your utilities, to buy new utilities. This is going nowhere unless PSE&G bites the bullet and pays for these costs. That's my take.
So one of the things that, you know, was apparent in the early discussions with PSE&G is every time they've said they've done that, there's a reluctance from homeowners to give that they skew low. So someone who's, well, you know, maybe I'm going to connect my dryer and my stove, but I'm not going to touch the heater. Because I don't want to get hit with that big ticket item. maybe I'll do so in the future. And so one of the things that we had talked about is that, communicating that to the residents, hey, look, be real, because if you say you're only going to use it for your dryer, well, that may not be enough to move the needle. And if these are these are not necessarily commitments, but this is an indication of what realistic connections folks are going to make along with those BTU actions. I think it's certainly worth discussing this further with PSE&G. This sounds like, for a lot of these roads, it's nice and flat. These are, one way in and one way out. These numbers seem very high. Very high.
For example, like, can I interject, Mayor, that you said that reminded me of one of the residents that lives on Old Dutch Road East. She's very vocal. And she was texting me. She said she tried to get in touch with Ms. Banks. And she said that the way the plan looked, I guess, on her paperwork that she received was they're coming through her backyard from Old Dutch Place through the backyard as opposed to through the roads. And she wanted an explanation as to why that was, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think that maybe the astronomical amounts are because of, the engineers, the way they have to put, I have no idea why, but, but yeah, that is a concern of not only, yourself, but of other residents as well, that they've vocalized.
So Doug, what are you suggesting for next steps?
I think the next step is to circle back to Ms. Banks, and I know that she's just a messenger here, but we got to get the message back to PSE&G that, again, if you're serious about wanting to expand your gas service, then you're going to have to eat this upfront cost, because no resident's coming out of pocket for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And then the idea that the deposit is left on hand for only 10 years. So, your money that you're fronting for the benefit of others, the PSE&G was saying you're going to get that money back. But in the 11th year, if everybody decides to jump in on that, then you fronted the cost for everybody. And that's just not fair. And it's just cost prohibitive. What the numbers that they're putting out there, I just don't see how anybody ever expands their gas service.
Exactly.
It's just, I couldn't, quite frankly, I couldn't tell whether I was being asked to pay $86,000 or whether that was the total cost to run the main. So it was unclear to me, but they were very specific. This is the main only. And then we know we've got 15 to 20 of personalized costs to the resident to get gas from the main to their house and getting their appliances to work with that. So unless
Gina, at one point you had mentioned that the cost for the main would then be divided among, so that's 79,000.
The way I'm reading the email from Tanya is that 86,000 the different amounts are divided amongst the residents based on what utilities they plan on hooking up and how far down the road their main is, how much of the main that they need. That is what my understanding is. So it wouldn't be one homeowner, it would be 86,000, or it would be that group. Because like I said, it was divided between 4 groups. However, yeah, you're right. So for example, when you're filling out the BTUs, people were very cautious filling out that application because they said you would then be committing. You would get a letter of commitment to say, you said you want to hook up your furnace to gas. That once this number was determined, and your particular slice of the pie was determined based on what you said you wanted, or this was my understanding, so correct me if I'm wrong, then you had like 3 to 6 months to have that upgraded. So if you want a new furnace, you're talking about, $8,000 to $20,000, depending on the furnace you get, and the plumber costs and all that stuff. And can you even get it in 3 to 6 months? So then people are pretty much, there's a supply chain crisis. So people are very hesitant to sign any kind of commitment at that point. And if everyone doesn't commit, then one person doesn't commit, then that changes the price for everybody.
Right. So to put it from theoretical to an example, if on my street, say there were 4 folks that were interested in running or upgraded to gas, it wouldn't be 86 divided by 4. it would be 86 divided by how much of the BTUs my house is putting in vis-a-vis the other three. So if I'm the only one that's hooking up to a furnace and what have you, whatever, everything else I have, and the next guy over is just doing it for, say, a generator that may or may not even turn on that year, I'm paying basically all of it.
Mhm.
And they're paying a very small fraction. And then as other folks decide to tap in over the next 10 years, I might see some money back. It's unworkable.
Yeah.
It is unworkable to ask a resident to pay the cost to bring in a utility for everyone else and then have the utility just sit there and collect fees for the rest of eternity. I just don't see how this could ever work. And I don't see why they think it's going to work. The numbers that were being thrown around us was negligible. It was almost, if enough people commit, we'll run it for free, which is sort of what you'd expect. I'll bring in the product, you guys consume it, it's a win-win. This is, you pay for me to bring in my product and then buy it from me. Right. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like almost like a bit of a prisoner game theory. If everyone cooperates, then it's great. But if some don't cooperate, the process doesn't necessarily work. It may be worthwhile having that conversation with the PSE&G, the PSE&G team again. And I forget the, my God, he's the manager. I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, I've got his name in emails. I'll go back and pull that out.
All right, so let's keep this teed up under old business, and let's not give up on this. Let's just figure out the way to make this work. Okay, Colin, anything further with New Jersey American Water?
Nothing on that one, Mayor.
Okay. Doug, I know you and John were going to discuss Pluckman Park, probably offline. I'm not sure if there's anything
On it, yeah, Mayor, I can give you a quick update on that, where we're going. I think we're going to put this on exec for next session. Between now and then, I have had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Bellardo. We've gone through the proposal. What we thought would be the best next step to educate the committee would be to have Paul and someone in our zoning or buildings go down to take a look at the property to see what they think, just to make sure we're not missing something collectively, get the eye there that's sort of trained to look for things that are right and wrong, just to make sure that we've got our arms around all potential issues. And then we'll put this on for exec next meeting to actually get into the request and the proposal, what they're planning to do here. But the idea is to get some long-term permanent upgrades for the residents there, something that's going to hopefully free up some maintenance into the future, but then also sort of brings the property into the 21st century.
Okay. Okay, with that, let's proceed to Township Committee comments. And Doug, while you've got the microphone, let's go with you.
I'll just conclude. I don't really want to take too much more time, but just to thank not only Robin for your hard work on the budget and Bud and his team, but also, my TC members here. It was a lot of action, a lot of meetings, a lot of late nights, but it's always a pleasure to go through that with you folks. It's a good group we've got here, and I think we've done a good job for the residents. So thank you for all your help and all your work. That's all I got.
Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, some congratulations are in order. First off, Committeewoman Fernandez recently celebrated the graduation of her daughter, Ashley, from Rowan University. Congratulations as Ashley embarks on her new career. I think she was signing autographs and her employment contract on graduation day, right?
Yeah.
Good for her. And then later this week, Mayor Jacobs celebrates the graduation of not one, but two of his children from Johns Hopkins University, much to the relief of his wallet, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is on top of the daughter who graduated from Hopkins in 2020, but finally got to walk a few weeks ago. So congratulations to all four students and their families. And, I bring this up also because this is yet another, or these are shining examples of the caliber of students that come from that little school down the street and the places they go after they leave Bedminster. Well done, guys. Well done. That's all I have.
Thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
What can I say after that, except to reiterate our thanks to Robin for all she's done in budget. My thanks to Robin and Doug for the community garden program, because I'm so looking forward to getting that started. Thanks to the guys in the fire departments who come and help us with our budget meetings. Thank you for staying with us tonight. And a big welcome to Pingree School. They put on a great show. It was too bad that one of the neighbors didn't get notified, but it was an exciting event. Me and Colin got to go and see the campus, and it looks like that's going to be another success in our town. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Committee Woman Fernandez.
I'd just like to reiterate, thank you to Robin for all the spreadsheets and all working through everything. And even this presentation was phenomenal. I hope it's posted on the website and we can share it with our residents. A great job with that. And just welcome Officer Peña to Bedminster. That's all.
Great, thank you. So once again, Robin, we've said it before, just, the comments from all of us are heartfelt and sincere. We know how much work you put into it, and it was noted from all of us. And once again, a thank you to Congressman Malinowski for putting the Miller Lane pump station into the appropriations. I thought we were never going to use the term earmark again, but we're using it. And glad to hear that Bedminster's project was selected by the congressman for the appropriations bill. With that, it is 8:53 on my clock over here. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And Robin was good enough to leave the gavel over here. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you and good night.
Man,
Even comes through on that one.
that came through.
Well done.